I have learned in the age of Trump that if shock and outrage are the immediate reaction when norms are assaulted, one will get exhausted very quickly. That said, even in a day and age of alternative facts and baseless conspiracies blessed often by this very administration, the idea that a January afternoon where a very democracy was attacked on live TV, law enforcement beaten by traitors, all fueled by a baseless lie by a man-child, the idea that that horrific day is somehow whitewashed is still impossible for me to reconcile. September 11th is a day, even nearly 24 years later, that we also painfully recall that replaying the imagery often seems worse than redundant. Yet, inconceivably, an attack again against the bedrock of our democracy, this time perpetrated by our own less than 5 years ago, despite broadcast in living color for the world to see, has somehow been so whitewashed that some have been convinced not to believe their lying eyes. Shame on anyone whose politics have allowed collective amnesia, and especially for those Republican lawmakers who fled from that same mob not that long ago, only to later defend the indefensible out of career cowardice. Let's not let the lies obscure one of the worst days in modern American history. After more than 70 court cases, including dozens overseen by Trump-appointed judges, all ruling unilaterally that the 2020 election was decided fairly and that Trump, despite his best efforts to cheat, lost decisively. He solicited, he organized, and he directed the mob to Capitol Hill to stop the certification of an American election. The mob would go on to hospitalize hundreds of officers, and four would end up losing their lives directly attributable to the insurrection. 1,600 rioters would be prosecuted for their sedition, and we as a nation vowed never again. Then came last year's election and the rewriting of reality. Somehow, Trump, who escaped impeachment for his actions because his party members believed he was politically crippled, he was resurrected. Emboldened, he not only pardoned every last one of the traitors, including pedophiles and drug traffickers, but then purged many of the federal agents and prosecutors whose apparent crime was enforcing the law. Now, some of that seditious crowd, not only now freed, actually found work in this White House. Their attack on Capitol Hill, apparently a badge of courage in MAGA world. But it impossibly could get worse. Remember this guy? Mark McCloskey, who first came upon the national consciousness when armed with an AR-15 decided to point his rifle at social justice protesters in his St. Louis neighborhood. Well, just because. Anyway, he is now the lead attorney in pushing the Trump administration to pay the rioters restitution for what they contend were unjust persecutions. The audacity goes even further, as McCloskey is pushing for a similar commission that was used for victims of 9/11 attacks to similarly reward those who violently attacked law enforcement on Capitol Hill. White nationalist groups like the Proud Boys, they're so emboldened that they've listed their own set of demands, and they've made it abundantly clear that they have not only not an ounce of contrition for what they did, but they would participate in another attack without a second's thought. While it's not clear how much traction these reparation requests are finding within the Trump Justice Department, it's indisputable they have had audiences at the highest levels and have been assured that their requests are being taken seriously. Do we have any shame anymore? How can you be a Republican lawmaker that was there on January 6th and walk by the officers who risked their lives protecting you and stay silent as Trump celebrates their attackers? How do you look them in the eye as he pardons every last one of them and fires those who followed the law? How do you stay silent as the Justice Department considers financially rewarding them for beating the blue? I know. We don't get to be shocked anymore, but can we at least speak up for the heroes who held the line that day and say, this is our line? I say this all the time, and I wonder if it still is true, but I really still believe, call me naive, But this isn't who we are as a country.